Our question one, we're going to be talking about the external environmental forces for teams within the Niagara region. So first is competition. So these teams are fighting for fans, viewers, and attendance. So the Niagara teams are fighting with each other for these viewers. Like all these teams are fighting with each other for merchandise, season tickets, viewership, and everything. They're also fighting with the major pro teams as well, like the Ice Dogs with the Leafs and Sabres, River Lions with Raptors, and Jackfish with Blue Jays. Next is technology. This can be through technology used in arenas and stadiums, like video boards and jumbotrons, social media to engage with fans, like TikTok, X, Instagram, to gain that kind of younger viewership. Technology used in the sport, like video replay, VAR, things like that. Next is the physical environment. So the physical environment impacts some sport more than others for gameplay, like the Jackfish are heavily affected by weather, while the Ice Dogs and River Lions aren't. But like bad outside weather can lead to it hard for people to be able to go to the games, which impacts spectatorship and viewership. Next is the political, legal, and regulatory environment. So the political landscape will always have an effect on sports. We're seeing right now in hockey with USA and Canada. So this could come over into the Ice Dogs when they play American teams, which could have their anthem booed or vice versa, which could create animosity for the players and spectators. The legal aspect can affect these teams through laws and policies passed that affect the players and teams. Like the policies inside the CUBL on salary caps have a huge effect on the River Lions cap space and their budget. While the regulatory aspect can affect these teams through the regulations that the leagues have. Like the CUBL, their team has to be made up at least 70% of Canadian players, which impacts how the River Lions create their team. Then you have demographics. So there's changing demographics in the Niagara region from older to younger. So maybe that's using more technology in their events or in social media. Also, more immigrants are coming in, which is changing the demographics. So maybe things like cultural nights to integrate these new people and immigrants coming in. And last is the economy. So it's not a great economy right now because of the tariffs, and that could impact the economy even more. So this will lead to people not being as willing to spend money on sporting events and merchandise. So maybe that's creating packages for them to be able to lower the cost for a game. For question two, I'll be discussing the 3 levels of fan identification. The first one is low identification. So this is if you only go for the social aspect and the things that come with the game. And as soon as you leave, your fandom's gone. So these type of people do not go for the game or because they're a fan, they go for the experience. The second is medium identification. They identify with a player or team. When results from the team or the player, when they go down or a player leaves, so too does their fandom. And they usually shift to the lower fandom or maybe to no fandom. So these fans are a lot more common nowadays due to the fact that there are many more people that identify with an individual player rather than the team, and they will hop teams with the player. And lastly is high identification. They recruit other fans, promote the team, and they have high loyalty no matter what. And they'll invest highly in the team, like buy merchandise. This is a die-hard fan who will root for a certain team through thick and thin. Whether they're the best team in the league or the worst, they'll always be a fan. Now, an example of this is the NBA and how they've tried to increase fandom. You look at NBA League Pass or the NBA app, it's a lot more accessible to watch games and to get feedback for the games and to keep up with your teams and favorite players. You also like bringing content creators and personality into league events like the All-Star Game, the finals. Like you look at the All-Star Celebrity Game with guys like Kevin Hart and Drewski. Then also the NBA becoming more global, like the NBA Africa, the Paris Game, preseason games in Dubai, and things like that, becoming more of a global game. Or the NBA Emirates Cup in-season tournament, which is kind of maybe trying to get in that thing with Saudi Arabia, increase their fandom there. And then also commercials with celebrities, kind of being tied with celebrities and the league for people who are fans of the celebrities will watch the NBA. For question 3, I will talk about how sport differs from the arts. So first is unpredictability. You know how a movie's going to end, or you know how the painting is going to be. But sports are extremely unpredictable, which makes them exciting and a must-watch for fans. Also, the emotional investment that fans have with the sport, so for the love for their own team or hatred for others. Fans become extremely invested in a team's successes and failures, as if they are a part of this team, and it becomes their life. This is not seen nearly to the same extent in the arts. Also, how much the players care about the game. At the end of games or seasons, you can see the emotions that players and coaches have. They are incredibly invested in the team, just like the fans, like they're crying or they're hugging because they're so invested. This is especially true when it's a world stage and you're playing for your country. You don't see this in the arts, with how much the players that are playing actually love it, unlike the artists or the actors. Then the competition. The competition between teams and rivals also makes sport unique. Like players, coaches, franchises, and fans have a real hatred for each other, and this causes fights, riots, and even death at times. This competition that is seen in the games creates a spectacle that you need to watch, and it adds extra emotion and a spectacle to the game. And then next is the effort and athleticism of the athletes. So when watching a sport, especially at the highest level, people can see the sheer athleticism and skill of the athletes, how much better they are than everybody else. And like this are we play these games, watch these games, and you can see the sheer level of talent that these players have. And lastly, art is subjective while sport is objective. People can see different things in art, have different meaning. They can take a different thing from the art. While sport is objective, there's a winner and there's a loser. In sport, there will be an outcome that is objective, which many people love about it. There's one winner and one loser. There isn't multiple different themes or multiple things you can get from it. All right, question 4 is about a SWOT analysis. So a SWOT analysis is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of either your own company or another company to analyze how it's doing. So strengths is what the product has that gives them an advantage over the competition. Weaknesses is what's holding the product back, so the main areas in which they struggle. Opportunities is an area in which a product can benefit from in the future, usually external factors. And threats are things that have the ability to harm the product in some way. These are also usually external factors, but can also be internal. So now we're going to look at Ford and do an example for them as they're rejoining F1 with Red Bull. So the strengths are brand awareness. They can really raise their brand through F1, can reach more people by seeing the logo on their screens rather than just through commercials. They're seeing them at Formula One events and marketing of that event. And also can change the perception of the brand from just this heavy-duty truck from America to maybe a fast car and like ones that people want to drive. You can also associate Ford with some of the best drivers in the world. So maybe if someone really likes F1 and they like a certain driver with Red Bull, now they can associate Ford with them. I want to drive Ford because my favorite driver drives them. Also weaknesses. It's very expensive to join this and to keep putting in money towards this. Also, not performing well can lead to a bad narrative of the brand. If Red Bull doesn't perform or a driver doesn't perform, that will look bad on Ford. There's also opportunities. So you can branch out to different markets across the world rather than just in North America, because Formula One is global. So you can reach different markets that you couldn't have reached before. Also lead to new marketing avenues to increase sales. So rather than just marketing through your own commercial, you can market through Formula One. Also, the Netflix show increased F1 popularity, so you can cash in on that. A lot more viewers, a lot more eyes on Ford. And the threat is that now they're tied with Red Bull and its drivers. So if scandals arise about either, it will reflect poorly on Ford because Ford is now tied in with all of them. For question number 5, I'll be discussing what makes sport unique. So first, it is a power that sport has to bring people together. So you look firstly at the World War II soccer truce. There's countries that are battling out and killing each other. But then on one day, on Christmas Day, they come together to play a big game of soccer. You don't see that anywhere else. Also, you look at the nations and how nations can come together in international sporting events. You look at Canada with the Four Nations face-off. The entire country came together to cheer on our hockey team, and that can't be done anywhere else but through sport and the love that people have for the game. 2 is the way it can develop nations. You look at like SDP, for example, Sport for Development and Peace. You can go into a non-developed country, bring sport in, and it can help develop it. Or peace, you can go to a war-torn country, bring sport in, and it can help to peacefully bring together a country. You also look at some smaller countries that rely so heavily on sports for their funding and in their economy. Some smaller countries, almost all of their funding comes from sheer sport, and that can't be seen anywhere else either. 3 is the divide it creates between people. Like you look at English soccer fans, for example. They hate each other. There's been killings and riots because of it. Even all these people that live in London in the same city hate each other because of the different teams they cheer for. And the same with college football rivalries. You have Auburn, Alabama, even across the country with USC and Notre Dame. They hate each other because of the sport. And number 4, how your favorite sports team can depict who you are and your personality. Like you look at a Duke fan or a Leaf fan, and you know exactly what their personality is. And 5, how we associate ourselves with our teams through like Berging, reflective glory, Corfing, cutting off reflective failure. We win, they lose. Or when our team wins, we feel good. Or Coursing, cutting off reflective successes. We take our teams and make them our own. We use that. We are so passionate about our teams that they almost become part of us. And it is so entangled in our personality and in our lives. We buy t-shirts, we buy everything, and we take their successes as ours. Question 6 is about women in sport and how sport is now catering more towards women. So first you look at online shops no longer just being pick and trinket, but having full areas for women and men rather than just men. So there's full areas in team shops and online shops that have women apparel, like massive amounts of women apparel, which is catering to more women. Speaking about mobile shopping, Many more women enjoy online shopping than men do for the most part. So by all teams and leagues having online shops for team apparel and merchandise, that caters more to women because they can get their team merch, they can buy tickets online, that caters to women. Also through targeted events and campaigns. Like you look at the Yankees fantasy camp for women, is women can go to the stadium, hit balls, increase their loyalty for the Yankees and their fandom in the Yankees and for baseball, as well as targeted commercials to women do the same sort of effect. Then you also look at social media. So a lot of women, including young girls, are influenced by online creators, content creators like TikTok and Instagram. So by leagues using these content creators to endorse the league, this really helps young women and women in general to increase their fandom. Like you look at the NBA in the 2020 All-Star Game in Chicago, bringing the Hype House, which is TikTok creators, and that really helped women to increase their fandom. There's also a lot of areas to improve, though. So, an area to improve is hiring more women. When women can see themselves in the teams through coaches, front office, and staff members, they may be more willing to watch and get involved if they feel like they're more represented, and they may want to watch the league more and become a fan of the league. Also, by marketing current women's sports teams better, or by getting more women's sports. So, if you market a sport better, like a women's sport like the WNBA or the PWHL, maybe more women will watch that league, but also in turn watch the subsequent men's league. Like if they're watching a lot of PWHL, maybe they'll in turn become a bigger hockey fan and watch the NHL. For question number 7, I'll be talking about the different types of market segmentation. So the first one is age. So you look at kind of like if you're segmenting based on age, maybe you want to hit a younger demographic, so you hit like the Gen Zs, and they are a lot more online, kind of quick pace, so you have to do your sport towards that, the fast pace and the online style. Maybe gender and sex is another one. So like you look at women now, women are a much bigger factor in sport than they were, say, 10, 15 years ago. And you kind of treat women differently now in sport. Like you look at March Madness, is not the women's NCAA tournament now, it's March Madness for both men and women. Ethnic background, you can segment based on race, religion, and nationality. So you look at, for cricket in Canada, now that cricket's becoming a bigger thing, you're looking kind of targeting the more immigrant people that watch cricket. Countries like India, Pakistan, and even England. You hit those markets that watch that sport. Also look at the family life cycle. So you kind of look, what type of thing are you looking at? Are you looking at the traditional family, which isn't a lot anymore? Like, are you looking for a family with young children? If so, you look at baseball. They have, during the summer, weekday, midday games. Or you look at Sunday, like the family day. Or if you look at more like a WWE, when it's night games, a lot of drinking, a lot of gambling, probably doesn't appeal to families. Now you can look at socioeconomic segmentation. So going off of social class, like income, education, occupation. So like for a lot of sports, some go to more the higher class, some are the lower class. Like NASCAR is more the lower class, while tennis and golf are more the higher class of the socioeconomic segmentation. Then lastly is psychographic segmentation. So consumers based on lifestyle and personality. So if you know that they're more of a calm person with more of a low-key lifestyle, maybe fishing, right? So you can, and if you're like a very fast-paced like hockey, maybe you'll go towards people with a faster-paced lifestyle. Question number 8 is about the diversion from everyday life and how it impacts fan attendance. So the first is stress relief and escape. Many fans attend events to disconnect from daily stresses, work pressures, or personal issues. If the event provides a way for people to do that and forget their worries and have a fun experience and a stress-free time, then their fan attendance will increase. Also, the emotional and social boost of a sporting event. Fans often attend events for the emotional highs, like seeing an old friend, meeting new people, having some drinks, or witnessing an exciting game. People can have that, then their increase of fandom will go up. Now, an example of this is through the New York Yankees, which is one of my favorite teams. A lot of the Yankees fans' biggest reason for attending is personal relaxation and to get away from their daily routine and problems. The Yankees have game day events, activities, food, and drink options that feed into these desires, like the Kids Clubhouse, which is good for kids and for parents to get away, or the Stella Artois Landing and Michelob Ultra Clubhouse. You can have a relaxing time while just drinking a beer and meeting new people. Also, the social aspect is also a huge part of the experience for Yankee fans to get away from their daily life. They have the Budweiser Party Deck, LG OLED Sports Lounge, and the MasterCard Batter's Eye Deck, where you can drink, meet new people, have a social experience, and have a good time. Question 9. What is my favorite part of the class so far? I really enjoy the lectures and the professing by Olin Scott. What is my least favorite part of the class so far is the format of the assignments. I like when things are structured rather than having to do it on my own.